You know that moment in a project where you are wondering what you were even thinking? Yeah, this is it. This story starts in 2024 when I bought a Swifter fleece from a local farmer. The Swifter is a crossbreed between the Dutch Tesselaar and the Vlaming. The fleece was huge, beautiful, clean, not too high in lanolin, bouncy and soft. The farmer was also a spinner, so maybe she selects for good fleeces. Since the fleece is huge and I had quite a bit, I decided to dye some with the acid dyes that I got. This was my first time dyeing with them, and I cannot say that I'm a fan. I much prefer chucking plants into my cauldron and just see what happens. Anyways, I brushed out the tips, put it in my kettle with a huge splash of yellow and some blue, hoping for yellow, blue, and turquoise, and this is what I got. Not too shabby. But, no doubt to my lack of experience with non-natural dyes, when it came out, the tips had clumped together and there were grains of dye stuff in there. Not ready for spinning. So I had to brush everything out again. So I'd already worked on it a day or two before filming. Still, I ended up spending a good chunk of the day on this. Then went for a nice long walk and came back to do more as the sun was setting. The next day, I was ready to hibernate the entire endeavor for a few weeks, but then I was also making a video. So, we soldier on. Since I saved the worst for last, things got progressively slower as I neared the end of the pile. But look at that beautiful, finished, fluffy mountain though. At this point, its nickname was Seafoam due to its color and overall bounciness. On to the most exciting part, the spinning. Because I brushed out so much of the fiber, I added some of the natural undyed fleece to make sure it would add up to 100 grams. I'm not sure why, but I feel like it is absolutely necessary to start out with 100 grams. I divided that into two piles, one of them you see back there on the sofa. This, paradoxically, I eyeballed. Adding the white has an even bigger pro than starting out with a round number, which is that it will make for more variegated yarn, which I like. Do you see those thicker bits drift towards the wheel? If you want a very consistent yarn, you have to be consistent in everything. Your prep, how much fiber you pull out and feed into the orifice, how fast you pedal, all those things. In most cases, I just want a relaxing spin, and I like the yarn to be a bit variegated. In this case, I decided to really let the fiber take the wheel and let it do as it wanted, which means there are bigger slubs in there than I would normally have. Not gonna lie, it was a bit of an effort not to correct that. I am using what I believe is called a short forward draw in English, which I normally don't do because the pinching tends to hurt my wrists. I usually spin with a very loose grip. I'm sure my weird way of spinning will come up in a different video. It's difficult to explain, but there is no right or wrong here as long as you do what works for you and your body. In this case, it was a small project and it felt like the right way to spin for this fiber. Again, I saved the worst for last, so things got progressively more difficult as I was nearing the end of the pile. What you see me struggling with more and more is doing what I set out to do. Let the fiber take the lead. But then it seems I'm just unable to let those big slubs get into the yarn. So you see me twisting it a bit, pulling out the yarn, and trying to manipulate it. I didn't even realize how much I was doing this until I watched the playback. Remember, I added the natural white to get to 100 grams? It has an even bigger pro than starting out with a round number, which is that it will make for a more variegated yarn, which I really like. And I think you can see the bits of white swirling around in there. We are almost done with the spinning now. There's just one small lock left to go into the yarn, and then we'll have our second bobbin as well. What comes after this is plying, where you twist two threads together in the opposite direction to make a stronger yarn. I accidentally deleted the footage from my camera. Just adding a bit of extra twist here to the last bit of thread, and boom, we're done. They are two beautiful bobbins. I will let them rest for a day and then start plying. This is the finished yarn and I couldn't be happy. This is future Nelska butting in to talk more about this yarn, and the reason I'm butting in now is that yes, I am happy with the yarn, which was what I said in the original clip. I'm really happy with it. I think it's hilarious how wild it is. It's also, it feels great. It's very light. It's soft enough to wear it next to the skin. All fantastic. But I think the real reason that I like this is that I like it. And that might sound ridiculous, but hear me out. So when I started out, most of my yarns looked like this yarn. I didn't like them. I thought they looked nothing like what yarn is supposed to look like. And I thought yarn is supposed to look like something that you buy in the store, which is very consistent, very even, very thin, very everything this is not. But that doesn't mean that the yarn is bad. It's still usable. This is perfectly usable. And what I like about it is not just that I like it, it is also that I made it this way. I think that's a big thing for me. I made it intentionally to be like this. So yay me. Progress. Well, I think it is. I'm very curious, what would you make with this? Because I don't have a project for this yet, and I would love to do something that one of you suggests. So please write your answer in the comments below, and I'll be sure to have a look at them and to see if I have enough to do this project. I'm very excited about this. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you see what else I'm up to, and I'll see you next week.